The whole Liam Kumar Day effect, not really happened.
Nigel couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I've rang up Mendon all, he said he could make it.
Don't dig this hole. Phil, credit to the guy, he always manages to do well what he has to. He is a shocking person right now. You guys got a trophy? No.
It was pre-bit.
No, my life from Rashad Mendon.
Right, you guys, I'm a tag jack! I'm a fucking tag!
The Illiteracy Report is back again this week, and this time we have the return of the co-host, so I don't have to do the podcast solo. It's Chris Leach.
I'm back!
He's back.
Sorry for my extended absence, people.
He isn't stuck in traffic or completely or stuck at Ikea.
No, that's it, absolutely. So yeah, stuck with a van in Ikea. That was it last week. That sounds thrilling. I can hear you listeners go, whoa, that's it, what a day. But no, I promise you.
Did you get any abuse from the listeners, as I said on the show? You probably didn't listen to the show.
No.
I told them to hurl abuse at you.
That's it. I didn't get much abuse. On the medium Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of stuff that you can contact. So you
obviously have a loyal fan base.
I obviously do. That's it. People obviously don't mind. But then again, sorry everybody. That's it.
That's okay.
I'm feeling good about this week. I'm really pleased to be back.
Good. Glad to have you back. We're going to have a bit of a shorter show for you today, as the Commissioner has had a busy week on top of his commissionerly duties.
Absolutely.
So we won't delay any further, and we will get straight to the league news.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with the transactions. So the first transaction we have is the Tuckfards added Cameron Artis-Payne and dropped Anquan Bolden. What do you make of that move?
I think Cameron Artis-Payne has probably got a little bit more outside at this point than Anquan Bolden does.
But for the running back strapped Tuckfards team?
Well, he's got to try and make a move somewhere. And I think maybe this is a little bit of a calculated gamble along the line a little bit.
Artis-Payne, I think he got about 5.3 points last week in yardage against that tough Minnesota D. Obviously, he's playing in Carolina where he's in a committee, and then you've got Cam as well taken away, so I agree. But he needs to do something.
Absolutely.
His two healthy running backs right now are Terrence West and TJ Yeldon.
Great.
Yeah, so Artis-Payne was a smart ad for him.
Yeah.
Thomas Torrance added the Redskins D and dropped the Dolphins D. Second week in a row, I think they've gone for a defense with their number one priority.
Yep.
Didn't work too badly last week.
No, absolutely.
Miami against Cleveland. The Dream Team added Orleans Darkwa and dropped Giants D.
Woo!
What did you make of that one?
That's left field.
Well, I mean, Shane Vereen obviously got that torn triceps injury. Rashard Jennings is dealing with that thumb thing. So, it's a volume ad, obviously. So,
but that's it. It's true, and say it may work out. But for a team that's heavy on passing,
yeah, very heavy on passing, and again, he'll definitely be in a committee either way. The Tuckfards added Gary Barnage and dropped Dwayne Allen.
Classic.
I'll let you talk about that one.
Yeah, well, there we go. What more could you want? His man. He's Mayan!
He's man of 2015.
Yeah, that's it. He's back where he belongs. Back at home.
Back in Tuckford's colours.
Yeah.
Where he belongs. Thomas Torrance added Dustin Hopkins and dropped Sebastian Janikowski. A dynamic waivers for Thomas Torrance. First the defense and now a kicker.
Well, going big on special
pushing
teams.
The boat out. Gridiron Gang added the Chiefs D and dropped Tampa Bay Buccaneers D. Cash for God added Trevor Simeon and dropped Nelson Aguilar. I didn't actually spot this one. What do you think of that one?
Trevor Simeon. That's okay.
Coming off a 4-touchdown game.
Yep.
Make of it what you will. 4-touchdown game. So they've got Aaron Rodgers. But he is on a bye this week. So I guess they need a QB fill-in.
Yeah.
And apparently Trevor Simeon is that fill-in.
He's the man. Everybody else on the way was Trevor Simeon. And to be fair, he's a man in form.
Mm-hmm.
Can he carry that performance this week? We shall see.
Against the Bucs D.
That's it.
The Dream Team added Ladarius Green and dropped Justin Forsett. Now, when I originally looked at this, I was a bit confused because as you know, I'm on the pulse of the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I had seen absolutely nothing about Ladarius Green since his updates in the preseason of him being put on PUP because apparently he's still suffering headaches and stuff from last season, or he's just not coming back for his ankle.
Yeah.
And when Dream Team added him, I was like, has there been an update? Has not been an update. He is on the PUP list, and he's gone straight onto the Dream Team's reserve spot.
Okay. Well, that's let's wait and see what happens there. I mean, say it's a good out, and the Darius Green's a good outlet tight end, especially in the Pittsburgh offense.
Yeah,
But,
if he ever plays them.
Absolutely, that's it. A roll of the dice, maybe.
Certainly. The Dream Team also added Carson Wentz.
Cool.
What do you think of that?
I think for someone who supports the Eagles, I think that's probably about right. I'd say Carson Wentz hasn't started badly. Let's be quite honest.
He hasn't thrown a pick in his first 3 games.
That's it.
He's been. I don't think he's led the world on fire. He's had some good. He obviously had a very good game against the Steelers.
Absolutely. But say very solid. And say if you need a reserve quarterback at this point,
Absolutely.
not a bad choice.
And finally, Forge Flies added Baltimore Ravens D and dropped the Pittsburgh Steelers defense.
That's it. Absolutely. After that bum performance on Sunday.
Yeah, what was it? One point they got?
No points.
No points.
Officially,
0 points.
officially 0.
Wow, that's
A donut
that's pretty impressive
for a D.
for a defense. Yeah,
They're going by Steelers D.
yeah. I don't blame you. So we'll get straight to the injury news now. Then,
Absolutely. Lots of it.
yeah, as usual, watered down version. I haven't included stuff that doesn't remain unchanged. So otherwise this list would be a very long one.
It's huge.
But the list we do have in front of us is Eric Decker. He had a shoulder injury last week, played in the game, but he went and had an MRI on it and hasn't practiced this week, so that is perhaps a bit more serious.
Oh dear.
Than else. I would say he's not playing this weekend, and perhaps it could be a multi-week injury. We'll have to see.
Ooh. So big moves for Brandon Marshall's obviously going to get a little bit more.
Who's also injured.
That's it.
Let's not forget.
So everyone should watch
Quincy Enunwa.
exactly that. Number 3 receiver on the Jets happens to be on Forge Fly's bench.
Very happily for one LOC coach. Forge Flies, speaking of Forge Flies, they do have 3 injuries to update on. Michael Floyd got a concussion last week. I put fine here. I think I saw he's been cleared for football activity, so I would imagine he'll probably be okay.
It might knock some form into him, who knows? Hopefully.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
T.Y. Hilton's obviously been dealing with, I think, a knee injury.
Yeah,
hasn't
knee
been
and
practicing.
hamstrings.
Probably just a rest day yet, but he'll be fine. Delaney Walker was kind of a surprise. You weren't expecting that. Out of the tight end.
Kyle Rudolph worked. I mean,
yeah, he scored a touchdown.
Yeah, he did. Just 13 points, nice and solid. But yeah, for someone like Delaney Walker, who only missed 3 games in like 3 years.
Yeah, but a bit out of field. He's got that hamstring. Still isn't practicing this week, but I would say it's probably questionable. We can see guys, with that nature of injury, not practice and then suit up for games.
Absolutely.
Tom's Tyrants, Jarvis Landry, he's got a shoulder injury and he plays tonight, or depending when you're listening to this, Thursday. Yeah, he's got a shoulder injury. I would say he's questionable. I don't think he's a game time decision, so I imagine he'll suit up, but double check that for game time. Deshaun Jackson dealing with knee and ankle ailments.
Some more ailments. This guy loves ailments.
Yeah, he does. He really does. He played with them last weekend, went down, seemed to re-injure them, but came back into the game anyway. He'll probably play through it. He usually does, but again, just double check his stats. Chris Ivory is a walking injury. As
absolutely.
Not only was he hospitalised for the first few games, comes back in his first game. He now has ankle and knee issues as well.
Quality,
as you do, being Chris Ivory.
Yeah.
He'll probably play. He usually plays.
It's not very well.
Yeah. But then it is Julius Thomas. He's got an elbow injury. He is a true game time decision, so highly questionable is how I describe that. So I can't give you much information on that other than that. Sammy Watkins I can give you information on, though. Obviously he's been having that foot injury. I would classify him as questionable every week. He didn't suit up last week.
Yeah.
He might not suit up this week. He might. How effective is he going to be?
Not very effective, but judging by the
Yeah.
reports coming out.
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Yeah, that's going to be a season-long thing, really. So enjoy listening to that for the next 3 months.
Every week.
Yeah.
Is Sammy Watkins playing this week? No. Game time decision.
Yeah, basically. So for the bunch, nearly the Brady bunch.
Nearly.
One more week
One
we'll
more
be
week.
throwing
Yes,
into
of
the
course.
Brady bunch. Willie Snead, he had a toe injury last week, probably a calf toe. He did not play on the Monday night game. He was game time decision for that, did not suit up. I would anticipate him probably returning this week, but he is questionable, I would say, nonetheless, so double check that.
Good start to the season.
Yeah, a very good start to the season, especially with Kobe Fleener disappointing.
Yeah.
Had some targets to go around, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Pakistan, Eric Ebron, he is trying to get all of the injuries in one season. It would seem he's had back already. I don't know. He's got an ankle now. He'll probably play through it. He's questionable. Tevin Coleman, excuse me, he had an ankle injury in last week's game. I'm not sure how serious that is. I'd say questionable, but he'll probably suit up. And Jonathan Stewart, I wouldn't anticipate a return from his hamstring injury.
Perennially injured.
Yes.
Loves an injury.
A more effective Chris Ivory.
That's it. Well, yes, he only has one problem rather than two.
Yes. Ignan Jamal Charles continuing to try and come back from the ACL tear from last season. There's a chance he plays this week.
Right.
That's seemed to have been nearly every week, but I think there is a better chance he plays this week. He will be questionable. Again, he's not going to play a full complement of snaps, even if he does play.
Okay.
But he could return. And Russell Wilson also getting quite banged up this season as well. He's got knee and ankle injuries now as well, but he's a quarterback, so he should be fine.
He should tell his offensive line to be better.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt.
That's it. Just that.
It wouldn't hurt. I mean, I'm not complaining. Christy Michael kind of balled out last week, which we'll get to. But so he should be fine. And Alshon Jeffrey, another walking injury of the NFL, has a knee problem, but will play through it, I would imagine. Soft tissue injury is the one that cripples him, not the knees.
No, that's it. There you go. That's it.
Yeah. Finally, we're nearly done. Mohamed Sanu injured his shoulder last week as well.
Oh no.
He's again been dealing with a couple of injuries, but he should play. Still questionable, so double check, but I imagine he will play. So that is all of the injuries out the way. Another injury-filled NFL season.
Oh, I'm sure there'll be more next week. Hell yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But we will go back to our marquee matchup of last week now, looking at the recaps, and it was the Plymouth Bowl, as we all know.
Oh.
I mean, it didn't look like a classic for much of the evening.
No.
It was a low-scoring game. And then all of a sudden, Pakistan kind of came alive. I think near like the endish of the 9 o'clock games, and they just ran away with it, 126-68. What do you make of this?
The Tuck Fars, they got the Steamroller Blues. They got the Steamroller Blues. They've been steamrolled there.
Yeah,
they've been absolutely wrecked. You're absolutely right. And there's some standout performances. I mean, I think the Tuck Fars have a lot to be disappointed about. And if it wasn't for the fact that their D absolutely saved their week.
Yeah, that
it would have been an awful lot worse. We got 6 points for Big Ben. We got 7 points combined for the running backs. Dear me. Michael Crabtree makes the team look good. 10 points at wide receiver, but they're starting number 1 receiver Brandon Marshall, 2.7 points. What's that? Dwayne Allen's supposed to have a great season. 3 points.
Still without Gronk as well.
That's it. Still without Gronk. Alan Hearns, the saviour of that team. Jacksonville offense, 4 points. Not very good, but the 27 points from the Vikings D makes them look good. And it flatters their week because without that, they're scoring a very, very low total.
68 points and 27, nearly half of that.
Absolutely.
It's
nearly defense. That's it. That doesn't happen very often, and it can only happen to Phil. But I say that on the other side of the board, you look at some pretty standout performances, and I like the fact that Pakistan's running back core has now got it right. Todd Gurley, 20 points. The season starts now.
Yeah, he's got going now.
Absolutely.
They've figured it out.
Melvin Gordon, absolutely the number 1 in San Diego now. That's it. He's going to get volume every single week.
Yeah.
So those two together combined.
You want no love for Dexter McCluster?
That's it. Well, Big Dex is the reason why he's not in Tennessee anymore. Because
Ken Wisenhunt went to San Diego.
Yeah. That's it. Took his favourites with him. He wasn't very favourite anyway. That's it. We're doing all right without him. That's it.
Exotic Smash Mouth #.
Absolutely. That's it. Do you want to mess with Derrick Henry? I don't want to.
Yeah, that's a good point. He's pretty badass, dude.
That's it. He's a pretty big man. But talking about Tevin Coleman as well. Look at that, 26.9 points, leading the board this week. Yeah. It's great. I like that. I like the fact that their running backs are combined for 53 points near enough. It's great. Well, even more than that, 60 points near enough.
Yeah, a lot of points.
That's it. So, and that depth just continues. Receiver, Allen Robinson. That's it. The receiver to have in the Jacksonville offense, let's be quite honest.
Yep, absolutely.
2 receiving touchdowns. great day. Philip Rivers didn't have a great day, but you don't need it. If you've got someone who can score, consistent points, he'll do better week in, week out. When he's on the field for a bit more. But I like that team, and the early season promise that Pakistan delivered or promised, judging by the draft, number 1 in the draft, looking good. You can see that even on the bench there are points as well. So I like that team, and I like where he's heading.
And this was a very important game for both teams, because both teams entering this game were 0-2, and we've seen teams come back from 0-2 and make the playoffs. Coming back from 0-3, we have seen it, but it is much harder and much fewer and far between.
Absolutely.
And as you quite rightly said, I've been saying in the power rankings as well, I never really questioned Pakistan's the quality of the team. It's just they didn't put it together in the first couple of weeks, and they finally put it together. Whereas the Tugfards, where we have had those doubts, they are looking at a very tough season ahead of them. And is it a fair question to wonder if Coach Merritt just isn't cut out for a 12-team league?
I don't know about that. I just think there were some questionable decisions in the draft that may have saved the season. I think taking the weakness of that team right now is running back, and he had the chance to take a quality running back in the first round of the draft, and didn't take that. Now, if Gronk comes back and produces the same kind of volume as a top RB1, then great. But if he doesn't,
this team's problems go further than just one player, though.
You're right.
As we often see with the worst teams in the league, it's more than usually. It's not just one player that's going to make the difference.
Absolutely. But you'd expect some better performances from certain key players, Marshall and Roethlisberger especially. But I think that's where they're going to come unstuck this season without a quality running back. They have had in years gone by that they can lean on. So it'd be interesting to see if Coach Merritt can find that or be a little bit creative when it comes to trade. I don't know, but we shall see.
Sure. Moving to our next game now. Gridiron Gang take on the Dream Team. Last week, Gridiron Gang 2-0 entering this game, while the Dream Team were at 1-1. This one was heavily projected in the Dream Team's favour, but Gridiron Gang won it 123-84. What do you make of this game?
Well, it's a 40-point swing. We go from a 60-point swing in the last game that we reviewed to a 40-point swing here, and it's again the same problems are occurring. I think that the Dream Team again are flattered by the performance of one player, and that's Drew Brees. Drew Brees has had another really good game.
As you quite rightly pointed out on Sunday, take a moment for Vivek Nathwani. He was on about 20-something points, I think 30-something points. He did have 4 players to go at that point, but still from 5 players effectively on his team, he only got about 42 points.
Absolutely. Needed to find 100 points and couldn't find it. And there's a long way to go, isn't it, when you come to that point. But I think he can be quite rightly let down by certain members of the team. Running backs again say CJ Anderson just didn't show the early season promise. I went for 37 rushing.
In a game where Denver really did dominate, all of the passing touchdowns went. All of the touchdowns went to Trevor Seaman. So quite unfortunate in that respect.
That's right, exactly that. So it didn't go through, and it's the same problems that struck them last year. Maybe because Trevor Seaman he's now finding his feet a little bit more in that offense. Maybe Latavius Murray again against Tennessee.
It's kind of what he's been all season. It's such a It looks like he's the lead back. It's very much a committee.
Yes, absolutely. And the Oakland offense really isn't firing as well as it was last year, which is a real problem. Tennessee have a good defense, but you'd expect him to find a little bit more volume in that backfield. Going down, Julio, not quite what you expect. Bad day all round for their receivers. Greg Olsen again. Cam didn't fire. So if Cam doesn't fire, Olsen doesn't fire. Jordan Matthews, say, 1 touchdown saved his day.
Yeah, I think it was 1 catch.
Yeah,
maybe.
That's it. It might even be
a couple of catches.
Yeah, 19 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, it's such a dominant win. You'd expect him to see an awful lot more, but
you
didn't.
would.
So I think that luck comes into this and touchdowns are gold, but there's a lot there to smooth over some problems that he's got, and even the bench doesn't solve that. Having an extra D on the bench, doesn't really help. Charles Sims, and I'm not quite sure why he wasn't played, but because it was always quite clear that he was an RB1 going into that game.
Yeah, even against the tough Eddie Rams, we've seen running backs have success against them.
Absolutely, especially someone who's quite as dynamic as Sims is. pass catcher as well. But we can look at the other side of the ball because we're going to look at the positives here.
And there are many on Gridiron Gang.
Absolutely. And you say, you look here, running backs do exactly what they want to do. High volume, touchdowns, the lot. 23. It's the same score. Johnson, first round pick, expecting that. But Christine Michael, I like that. Coming out, 2 touchdowns. Yes, he is. He has the 49ers D, and the 49ers D suck.
Hey, he's the bell cow, man.
Absolutely.
Thomas Rawls being injured
Absolutely, and it's a good pickup.
Yeah.
So it's worth.
It was a good draft pick.
Absolutely. But Marvin Jones is his breakout performance in the Lions' offense.
Yeah.
32.5 points, 2 touchdowns, lots of yardage. That's what you like to see at this point in the season, ramping up. He's the guy. He is the guy. And say, Golden Tate who? Anquan Bolden who?
Yeah.
Eric Ebron
no,
who?
he's not Calvin Johnson, but he's going to fill in the role.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But other than that, you look at that team and say, Decker, injured, what a shame. Dennis Peter went into the game like they were expecting big things from him.
Yeah.
Didn't quite get the volume. Macklin, you never really can grasp the Kansas City offense. So Bucks had a good game against the Rams, but you'd expect that considering the quarterback problems that they've got. And Derek Carr, solid but unspectacular.
Yeah.
But 123 points. You can't really argue with that, especially if you've got some big hitters firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
That's good. The bench is what the bench is.
Absolutely. So moving on to our next game then. And with that, obviously Gridiron Gang moves to 3-0.
Whoa.
Dream Team drops to 1-2.
Whoa.
And I forgot the injuries. Des Bryant, he did injure his knee. He's got a hairline fracture in part of his knee or something. It's not going to knock him out for the season, but it is a week-to-week injury.
Yeah, that's it.
So
that doesn't really help. I mean, it doesn't really help at all. You look at the bench.
No, as you say, probably Charles Sims comes in.
I think you're right there. Yeah, coming into the flex.
Yeah. Our next game then, Cash for Gold takes on Forge Flyers, and we'll whip through this one quickly for your benefit. Cash for Gold, 1-1. Both teams 1-1 actually entering this week, so jostling for position. Cash for Gold did win it, 116-87. Takeaways from this game.
I'll put this disclaimer here. Had Forge Flyers kept the same team that started Sunday, they would have won this game by a point, which is really annoying. Yes. This only worked out.
There is one player here that I did spotlight as questionably being played over another.
Yes, Kenyon Drake was picked over T.Y. Hilton, which was a bit of a gamble. It was a dice throw.
I would say so.
Dice throw.
It's like betting all your money on 36.
Yeah, that's it. It's just in case T.Y. Hilton didn't play. But as it turned out, everything that he didn't practice for 3 days.
Was T.Y. the late game?
I said yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, didn't practice simply for precautionary measures, and no one knew. But anyway, it doesn't matter because Forge Flyers lost. Cam Newton had a bad week for his standards.
He did,
Murray carries on a good form, and then you get to the problem here, I think, which is RB2, and RB2 right now is bad. It's
and through no fault of your own.
No, absolutely. The early report said that Matt Asiata was going to.
Well, no. I mean the Peterson Woodhead injury in the same week.
That didn't help either. But yeah. Asiata was picked over McKinnon, and simply because they said Asiata was going to be the starting RB, but it didn't quite work out that way. So
didn't make a great deal of difference.
But we live and learn. Jordy Nelson had a good week, and Carter had a good week. Other than that, not a particularly good week, and say flattered, I think, by 2 players. On the other side of the board, Aaron Rodgers obviously had an unbelievable week.
Returned to Aaron Rodgers-esque form.
Absolutely right, and say when you got Aaron Rodgers scoring and Jordy Nelson on the team, it kind of equates and cancels each other out, which is a bit of a shame. But I like the fact that Elliott's carried on, high volume. That's what we're looking for. No touchdowns, so you can see that he is the number one in that run in that backfield. Doug Baldwin, we've seen some of the takes that he can. Oh my word, some of the quality.
And look who else is back.
Yes, indeed, picked up. Derided,
criticised,
absolutely pick it up. But Jimmy Graham did work this week. I don't think he work every week, but this week he did. And so I say 100 yards, 1 touchdown. Sorry about the fumble, but hey, that's what you want to see. And seeing as Seattle don't have too many outlets, I think they want to use him a little bit more. But say 116 points, really, really good for Cash for Goal.
Yep.
Hope that carries on for them.
Yep, and they're 2-1, while you unfortunately are now 1.
1-2, but we do have 1.
You do.
1 in the 1 and 2,
do.
so that's good.
Exactly. Our next game then is Thomas Torrance against ADRZ. So entering this week again, both teams are 1-1, jostling for position. ADRZ coming off their first one of the season, while Thomas Torrance coming off of a low-scoring week, looking to rebound. It was a low scorer. ADRZ won 96-79. What do you make of this game?
No, so there isn't a great deal to be said. I mean, I think that Thomas Torrance have had another bad week, which is a little bit out of character for that team. They've got a lot of injury problems. They've got a lot of issues within that team. You look at someone like Kelvin Benjamin, who scores an absolute donut this week, and that's a real shame.
Doesn't happen often.
No, that's it, especially in that offense, and he's shown potential.
Luck as well, I would say. Last couple of weeks, he has not lived up to what we know Andrew Luck being.
Not at all. And I think the problem is that this team just isn't scoring touchdowns at the moment. You look at Luck in this game, he didn't score a touchdown, had a pick, had a fumble, bad game. I like the fact that the running backs are doing all right. It's just they need to score. Had they scored a little bit more,
it's kind of been the story all season long for Tom Torrance running backs.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at those two. Yeah, it wouldn't have made much of a difference. But had they scored a touchdown each and Kelvin Benjamin scored a few points, the game changes. Jarvis Landry, a favourite from that team, another good week. He's pretty proved his worth as a receiver in that, but also I think that without a credible running back,
they rely on the passing game more.
Yeah, an awful lot more volume. So that's what we're going to see. But on the other side of the board, ADRZ, solid week, if unspectacular. Devonta Freeman, I mean, and
this was another close game actually entering that Monday night game. It was I think it was a 7-point lead by Thomas Torrance, 76-69 or something, and then Devonta Freeman happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the first time this season.
Absolutely. It showed that he's still showing the glimpses of the last. I mean, it does help that they absolutely steamrolled New Orleans, and
you don't get to play them every week.
No, you don't. Absolutely. And, it's obvious that Atlanta had a real running back fest. In that game,
with Tevin Coleman, 52 points
that's
between.
It. And Julio and Mohamed Sanu not scoring particularly well. Yeah. So you can see where the points were scored. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the difference here. 26 points is an awful lot from one player, and that hasn't necessarily flattered the performance, but they're very even apart from that.
Yeah. So with that, ADLZ. Climbs up to 1 and 2. They were looking for their first win entering this game. My mistake. So they were 0-2, so they got their first win. While Tom Torrance dropped to 1 and 2 on a 2-game skip. Our next game then, Bedetonators against the Bunch. So both of these teams, Bedetonators entered the week at 2-0, looking to remain undefeated, while the Bunch coming off of a loss. It's a case of the unretired coach against one of the founding teams.
Absolutely.
And the unretired coach took this one 109-90. What'd you make of this game?
Well, the Bunch have had a really good start to the season.
They have. Really have.
And I think beyond his wildest dreams, he had a great and this is, and it's not forgetting that 109 points is scored without the quarterback.
Actually, in spite of the quarterback, who actually scored negative points.
Yes, indeed.
En route to throwing 6 interceptions.
That's it. Quality performance.
For the other team's defense.
Well, yes, absolutely. Yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick showing why he couldn't quite get in the Titans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but hey, he's done okay since that. Anyway, regardless of that, they've done very well, and I think that the core of their team is probably the best in the league.
Yeah, and this is without Tom Brady.
Absolutely. So you put a quarterback scoring 20 points in there every week, and it's quite a scary scene because they're scoring 20 plus points, or 20 plus points more. That's 129 points, and that's not every single week, but they're going to score more than 100, and that's difficult to beat.
And this was also with something called Andrew Hawkins, whatever that is. Indeed.
So when you see that you've got guys who get thrown to a lot, like Kelsey, who will always see targets in that offense. Antonio Brown obviously is the number one receiver in the league. But guys at the beginning of the season who had question marks over them, like if Carlos Hyde can score 24.5 points against the Seahawks D in Seattle,
yeah, a lot of that was garbage time. Disclaimer, but be that as it may.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely, you've got to do well to beat, and against the Seahawks D. In Seattle.
I mean, Blake Bortles makes his living off of garbage time.
Well,
so
that's it. Absolutely, absolutely. So there's value to be had there, and if he can do that, even in that 49ers offense, he's matchup proof.
Yeah,
it's matchup proof. That's what you want. Again, Jeremy Hill scoring 21 points against the Denver D. Yes, they're playing at home, but even
I think he plays well against them. But last year he got like 2 touchdowns against Denver as well. Weirdly. So.
Yeah, that's it. He comes alive, and maybe this is the start of something that we're seeing here. I mean, Sterling Shepard, we like that. I mean, that's a clever pickup in the draft. He's really showing some potential. He's getting volume. He's getting touchdowns. He's seeing looks. 15 points for the kicker. Like, what the hell? But I think this team is on a bit of a roll, and you've got to be watching them. Yeah. You've got to be looking at this early stage. The fact that they're showing this kind of form early on.
Yeah.
It's
Southampton division could shape up to be a tough one.
Well, yeah, absolutely. On the other side, Badetine is a Matt Ryan showing the early part of the season. He's doing very, very well. Bounced back from last year. Poor display last year.
Schedule gets tougher after this week, so we'll see how he copes with that.
That'd be really interesting to see. Absolutely. But other than that, I mean, you've got to feel for the guy. I mean, Mark Ingram's had a good game, but down the list a little bit more. You expect more from Odell Beckham. The fact that he's wide receiver 2's outscoring.
Yeah, and I think it's his 4th game. No, it's like consecutive games in a row where he hasn't scored a touchdown in his career. It's only like 3 or something, but
yeah,
still, it's like
it's not good. I mean, say he's getting
2 in a row. Actually, he didn't last week. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's seeing yardage, but he's got to be scoring. And say if he's scoring, then maybe we're seeing a bit of a different game. But I don't like these receivers here. I don't know. Benjamin hasn't done a great deal.
Tajay Sharp is no longer on.
Absolutely insane. He was touted to be the man in Tennessee offense, and say problem with that is that without Delaney Walker in the offense and against Oakland, which is a pretty good matchup, they didn't show anything at all. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the best thing to do, to be quite honest with you. And there's Emmanuel Sanders on the bench, but
that's been a blip.
Yeah, but do you?
This season
But do you trust the guy? That's it. That was the next question. So, Badetine is unfortunately finding themselves in a bit of a hole.
Yeah, I mean they're still 2-1. Let's not forget that they were undefeated entering this week. The very good point, and the bunch move up to 2-1.
Good for them.
I think our final game of last week was Bare Necessities against Ignan, which was another. It was supposed to be a good game, a really good game. Bare Necessities 2-0, entering the game looking like the best team in the league, facing off against Ignan, who looked strong.
Yeah.
They were 1-1 entering the game, but this wasn't even a contest. 134 to 54 in favour of Ignan.
Dave, I feel your pain, man. I feel your pain. I expected the scores to be the other way around. Say Bare Necessities have started so well this year, and it has been based on a very solid core of players, but they just didn't turn up this week, and it's so sad to see. Matt Forte and D'Angelo Williams have been saving them, but their offenses were terrible. It wasn't their fault. It's just they were behind fast, and unfortunately, when you're running back and you're behind. Yeah, you're just not scoring.
Unless you catch passes, it's tough.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at Nuke Hopkins there. Well, it's not a particularly good day for the Texans when they put no points out. You'd expect him to be doing a bit more. But
and funny you raise that point actually. So, each of these teams had 3 players on the Thursday night game.
Yeah.
I think Ignan got about 34 points from those 3 players, whereas Ben Necessity's got about 12.
See, look, there you go. And it's a long way to make up already.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a special performance, and just the special performances weren't there. Stephon Diggs started the season well, but again, only
had a bit of a groin injury, maybe slowed him down.
Absolutely, and so it slowed him down some of the yardage, and a lot of that yardage went to Rudolph, who they seem to pick out a lot. So I think this is just a bit of a blip week for Ben Necessities, and there's a lot to be said because there is quality in that team all round, and we've seen it already at the start of the season. As for it, well, they should be bloody pleased with this. Matt Stafford, three touchdowns. I mean, that ain't happening too many times this year. LeGarrette Blount, how long can that continue?
When Brady comes back, it's not going to be a run-heavy offense.
Absolutely. So he's been bulldozing people early start of the season. So if this is the time to get cut and get rid, that's it. Tuck Fry's listening here. He needed running back. That's it. Shady McCoy, that's a good pick out. I like that. But down the list a little bit more. Kobe Fleener has turned up. Whee!
Had to happen eventually.
That's it, absolutely. Early season form of Frank Gore. Well, it's nice to see him back on the board.
The old man.
That's it, absolutely. But there's some pretty extraordinary performances from pretty under-ordinary players.
Yeah.
And that will happen every week. And it's good for Rick Nance to improve their points difference at this stage of the season.
Both these teams moved to 2-1. So, with that, we're now in a position to look at the standings. Starting off in the Southampton division, the only remaining undefeated team of this young season.
Whoa.
Gridiron Gang, for the first time in their team history, 3-0,
Dear me.
and leading the league.
Say no more.
Yeah. Followed up by the Bunch, who were 2-1, then 2-1-2 teams, Forge Flyers and ADLZ. You're looking at Portsmouth. You got Iknan currently leading that one on points over the Detonators, who were also 2-1 but lost last week. Then you've got Patterson and Tom's Torrance at 1-2. And finally, you've got Bare Necessities, who are 2-1, still leading their division on points due to their incredible first 2 weeks. Cash for Gold, the rookie, making some strides. Second place in the division, also at 2-1. Followed up by the Dream Team, who is, by all accounts, actually had a pretty good start of the season. Somewhat unfortunate to be 1-2, I think it's fair to say.
Yep.
But there they are. And then the only team in the league without a win.
I know what that's like.
The Talk Fives are 0-3.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Only way is up, Phil.
Basically. Unfortunately, I have no other stats on records and stuff this week because busy week and all, so we'll just get straight into the week's previews.
Let's do it.
And I think you're probably going to agree with me what the marquee matchup is, but I'm just going to give a quick scan through. I'm not seeing anything that's going to change my mind.
I don't think so.
The marquee matchup is the Podcast Bowl.
It is, absolutely.
Podcast Bowl.
And
so storylines heading into this one. Gridiron Gang obviously looking to continue the undefeated streak. Currently 3-0. Forge Flyers, they are 1-2, looking to get another win, get that back to 500 on the season, keep up with the division. Lineup changes in this one. Kirk Cousins comes in to start over Derek Carr. Jordan Howard comes in at the flex for Eric Decker, and the Chiefs D come in for the drop Tampa Bay Buccaneers. D on the Forge Flyers side of the ball, Jarrett McKinnon comes in for Matt Asiata. T.Y. Hilton comes in, effectively for Jordy Nelson, and Torrey Smith comes in for Kenyon Drake, and the Ravens D obviously added today comes in as well. Projections currently have this one a close one, 98 to 96 in favour of Forge Flyers.
Dear me, really?
Tell me about this game.
Well, it's going to be a close one, as it always is. I don't have a very good record against you.
You don't. You are like 2-8 or something against me.
It's a terrible record. I think we're going to see. Hopefully, we shall see a little bit of a better performance from some players on the Forge Flyers team this week. I'm looking at the receivers here. Say, if Floyd Hilton and Torrey Smith comes in, because I think if Torrey's going to do it, it's against the Dallas D.
Yeah,
that's it.
Fair assumption.
Someone's got to. That's it. Someone's got to be the wide receiver one there. And that's him. I like the look of both the teams actually. I want to see if Christine Michael can carry that on. That kind of form that we saw last week. I think that Marvin Jones at Chicago again. I mean that's a nice matchup.
Look at my chops there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think both teams have some good matchups. But I still think Gridiron Gang will win because you've got that unbelievable record.
And it's funny, I talked about last week, I think on my own, about how it's funny how the trends seem to hold true. We saw last week, Bare Necessities, incredible first 2 weeks. Come up against Ignan, who they actually don't have a great record against. They were like 3-6 or something entering that game.
Yeah.
And they lose against them. It's funny how these trends actually seem to hold true. We see Bedanes lose to the top pods nearly all the time. We see you beat Ben all the time, and Ben beat me all the time.
That's it.
It's funny how some of the trends hold true, but I would agree. I'm going to take my team. I'm the team in form right now. I've had consistency. I think my lowest points have been in the 90s this season. Yeah. So, yeah, I think I take this
I think you're right.
Moving on to our next game, we have the Bunch against ADRZ. Storylines in this one. So, it's another divisional week, obviously.
Yep.
Bunch 2-1. ADRZ 1-2. ADRZ will be looking to keep up, while the Bunch will be looking to match, if not become, the division leader with a win. Lineup changes in this one. Boldly still starting Ryan Fitzpatrick after a terrible outing
Sick.
against Kansas. And otherwise unchanged, as has been the case for the Bunch most of this season.
Absolutely.
On ADRZ's side of the ball, Giovanni Bernard comes into the fight, I think, for someone. I'm not sure who. Maybe Mohamed Sanu, I would say. But other than that, I don't think they're changed. Projections have this one going to ADRZ 104-99. Thoughts on this?
Well, I don't know about that, to be quite honest with you. I think that Bunch have started well enough to put them firm favourites this week. ADRZ have shown glimpses, but as we said in the review, last week they were somewhat flattered by a massive performance from Devonta Freeman, whilst the Bunch have been pretty consistent across all areas of their team. I don't see too much of a hole in the team, maybe apart from Hawkins at wide receiver 2. But other than that, you can kind of allow that whilst Willie Sneed's out. But yeah, definitely the Bunch for me, I'm afraid, Nathan.
I mean, you said it quite rightly. ADRZ's highest point total of the season came last week, 96. Oh, great. I haven't had that consistency, that tenacity to score high points like they did last season. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, the Bunch, they had a bit of a bad week in week 2, but they bookended that with 2 very good weeks. Yeah. So this team definitely has the potential to score well. So you've got to go with that, and I too will pick the Bunch.
Lovely.
Moving on to our next game. Slowly losing my voice. We have Pakistan against Tom's Tyrants. It's been a long day, folks. Both of these teams are 1-2 in their division. The loser will become the bottom place team in that division. Tough place to be, and will be 2 games behind the leader, because obviously the other 2 teams play, and they're both 2-1.
Yep.
Lineup changes in this one for Pakistan. They look, at the moment, completely unchanged. Meanwhile, on Tom's Tyrants' side of the ball, they too are unchanged. However, they would have to swap out Eddie Lacy, who was on a bye, and they also picked up a kicker in defense and waivers, so they will come in as well. What do you make of this game?
Well, that's it. I think Tom's Tyrants have a bit of an issue this week.
And before you continue, projections 107, 64 in favour of Pakistan.
Indeed, that's it. And I think even without a kicker, defence and RB2, they're already on the back foot a little bit. They obviously needed all the points they could get last week and didn't get them.
70 points.
Yeah, and losing your RB2, especially when you consider that Chris Ivory is probably going to be injured this week. Isaiah Crowell, you can bring him in, but is he really going to do a great deal? Maybe against the Redskins away, possibly. And with him, he really is like a bomb ready to go off at any time. So it's worth a punt maybe. But Pakistan, as we said in the review, I'm going to stick to it because their season really does begin now. They've shown glimpses of what they can do.
We've seen this before. We've seen teams have a slow start and then just come out of nowhere.
Tom's Tyrants normally exactly that. That's it. They're the epitome of that. And I think if there's a team to get Tom's Tyranted this week, it's them.
How ironic.
That's it. Absolutely. I think again last week, Pakistan did have a few bum performances, but in key positions and key players that they're showing that they can score points, they get in volume, they get in touchdowns, and that's what you want to see at this point. So I think Pakistan, unfortunately for Tom, I just have a little bit a little bit too much this week.
Yeah, sure. And we seem to agree a lot on these matchups because I too am going with Pakistan. Like you said, a full-strength Tom's Tyrants team has struggled at times this season. Not at full strength, obviously, those projections are low without those 3 players they effectively don't have in their roster.
Yeah.
But Pakistan finally put it together last week, and that's really what we expected to see of Pakistan.
Yeah.
So you would expect them to have another good week. So I will pick them as well.
Great.
Next game, Ikea against Detonators. That's shaping up to be a doozy.
Yeah.
Another contender for marquee matchup, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
Obviously, both co-leaders of the Portsmouth division right now. Ikea obviously coming off that tremendous week, but Detonators notching their first loss of the season. Lineup changes in this one. On Ikea, they look unchanged at the moment. On the Detonators side of the ball, Carson Palmer comes in for Matt Ryan, who is now on the bench. Who else? Terrell Pryor is starting a wide receiver over Travis Benjamin. Emmanuel Sanders comes into the flex for Ryan Matthews, I believe.
Yeah.
No, TJ Sharp.
Oh, yeah, of course he's now gone, yeah.
Projections currently have this one 108 to 90 to the Detonators. Thoughts on this game?
I think it's going to be very, very close. But Detonators are throwing a few out. I mean, Terrell Pryor, yeah. So someone's got to throw. Yeah, someone to throw to in the Cleveland offense, and I suppose it's going to be.
Or, someone to throw things to other people. Or just run, maybe just be their whole offense, as the case would be.
Maybe. Yes, that's an interesting one. And Emmanuel Sanders has come in, throwing the dice out there.
Chasing the points, something ADRZ we've seen likes to do, chase the points.
Chase the points, we've seen Tuckfast do it in the past, so off a good week, get him in again. So, yes, I mean, I think that they're, not only are they clutching at straws just a little bit, but
and this is odd for a team that started quite strong.
It is rather. But again, I guess they've had their problems. So, Ryan Matthews on the bye, you expect him maybe to be in the team.
Jennings injured.
And Jennings injured.
Yeah.
Watkins
injured.
Yes. So you can see where the gaps are. But I do like it now. And they've come off a 134-point week. I don't do that by accident. Again, this is probably the last week they can cash in on Blunt, as we said before in the review. And I quite like some of the matchups here. They've dropped Alshon Jeffrey. I've just noticed that for.
Oh, they have.
That's gone. He is gone.
For who are they?
Fuller. I think it's Fuller.
I think it might be Fitz.
Is it?
It's one of the two. Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was.
One of the two.
But either or, so they come off 134-point week. I think that again, if you want a team in form, I don't know if it's them yet, but they're certainly showing signs
trending in that direction.
And if they're scoring 90 points, it's 40 points different from the week previous, or 44 points different.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I'm going to see 44 points off there. So, so I think Ignan probably have just that a little bit more because they've got a more established team, more established starters, and they're not really throwing the dice on a few players.
Yeah. I think you're right for the most part. These teams are two teams in flux. I think it's fair to say, both going in different directions.
Yeah.
Entering week 4, I think it's fair to say. I think it will be a close one. This one's a tough one to call for me. Obviously, both 2-1. I think I'm gonna go with Iknan as well, just based off of, it's almost like the Detonators have been on a slight downward slope, whereas Iknan, kind of the opposite. They're on an upward tick.
Yeah.
I kind of see that continuing, like you say. They're starting Terrell Pryor, chasing the points with Emmanuel Sanders, which could work. Carson Palmer's got a tough matchup against the LA Rams.
Yep.
So we'll see, but I think this, if you're a betting man, the safe bet this week I think would be Iknan, or safer bet.
Safer. Yeah.
Safer. Next game then, and then we've got one more after that. Bare Necessities are playing Cash for Gold. 2 division leaders as well. The winner of this game will lead the division, and by God, could you believe a rookie coach could be leading a division in the LOC in 2016? That's pretty incredible. So they're both 2-1. Lineup changes in this one. For Bare Necessities, Le'Veon Bell comes into the roster. Obviously, he's back from his suspension.
Yes.
For DeAngelo Williams.
Big time.
Other than that, they look unchanged right now, but they're going to need a different kicker because Mason Crosby's on a bye. So, cash for gold. Yes, do that. Cash for gold. Trevor Siemian comes into the starting lineup for Aaron Rodgers, who is on a bye. He's not getting a fantasy hubris and thinking he's a god. Derrick Henry comes into the starting lineup
That's bold.
as well.
That's bold.
Who have they been starting? Jeremy Langford, who is injured, which, again, I've been really lazy with the injuries this week, ladies and gentlemen. Jeremy Langford has an ankle injury. His week to week could be, I think, 4 to 6 weeks was what I saw.
Okay.
Other lineup changes. So I believe they've taken out a receiver.
I think Tavon Austin's come in.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe not. No, maybe not. I think I'm being an idiot. I'm not sure.
I know they've taken Tavon Austin's come in and Golden Tate's been
Yes. That's absolutely what's happened. So those are your lineup changes. Projections currently have this one. Remember, net of Ben Assisties not having a kicker, 82 to 81 in favour of Ben Assisties. What do you make of this game?
I think here cash for gold. Their bye weeks might catch them out. Aaron Rodgers, it can't be stressed enough that Aaron Rodgers has been a massive influence in that team this year. Yeah. And when you've got a quarterback like that who is throwing multiple touchdowns per game, it does make a massive difference. You've brought in, they brought in Trevor Siemian. He's come off a good game. Don't get me wrong, but he's playing in Tampa Bay. He's playing against the Bucks D. It's not going to be quite as good as we saw last week, I don't think. But at the same time, you've also then got Langford's come out. Derrick Henry's come in. I'm not so. Derrick Henry's
not the starting running back yet.
He's not, absolutely not, and he's an absolute tank, and he will be in time. But he's not getting the touchdowns. He's not getting the touches that he needs. So
Question: who is more of a tank, Derrick Henry or Phil Merritt?
Well, let's put that to the listeners. I think Phil is because he's self-proclaimed.
Yeah, I would have to say so.
That's it. I think
Derrick Henry doesn't need to shout about it.
No.
But Phil is so confident in his tankness.
Yeah.
He needs to let the world know.
100%. I don't. Until Derrick Henry shouts the inevitable words on the field, "I'm a tank. I'm a tank, DeMarco."
On the field of play.
Yeah, I'm a tank, Marcus. I'm a fucking tank. I'm the man. Until then, Phil Merritt's more of a tank. I think Phil could do him. I think if Phil was playing at D, he'd do him.
Yeah, I could see that.
Single-handedly stop him just with one hand.
I'd like to see him try.
Yeah, I would too. That's it. If you'd like to see that too, listeners, then do email the show. No,
we've sidetracked it, so
have rather. But anyway, yes, Derrick Henry coming in. I'm not sure he get the volume that Langford has, nor the points. But interesting pick nevertheless. And Tavon Austin, again, another one that's flatters to deceive.
Very boom or bust. Definition of boom or bust.
Very, 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 very. I saw Jeff Fisher's the man to lead him into the promised land.
Or your spirit animal.
He's my soulmate. I need to meet the guy. Yeah.
Wait, is the universe going to implode if that happens? Are we sure you're just not time traveled back? Like a Back to the Future. You're his son, but he's you.
Forge flies my way. I mean, to be fair, there could be a bond somewhere. If I meet Jeff Fisher, then Forge flies going to win the league. Simple as that. Me and Jeff.
Or just go 8-8, one or the other.
Or just that. I'd take that though.
To be fair, 8-8 in our league would be a Coronavirus appearance. Who are you picking in this one?
Yes, I think that Ben, as I said, a terrible week last week, obviously points wise. I think that Le'Veon Bell coming back into that offense is a really, really good thing. And I think that this week that they're going to have just a little bit more than cash for gold. Although I do like the way the cash for gold would have been performing, but I think that the key components of that offense have gone.
Yeah, I agree. Cash for gold, inconsistent. One good week, bad week, good week. Yeah. I think that could be the flavour of cash for gold in a rookie season, which isn't a bad place.
Take that. Yeah.
But as you quite rightly say, weakened or this week due to buys and injuries, whereas Ben is coming off a bad week where no one did anything all at the same time. You don't expect that to happen twice in a row, and as you say, getting Le'Veon Bell back is a huge win for this team. So yeah, I'm going to take them as well. Now the question is, are we going to agree 6 for 6 on every game?
We're not going to agree everywhere, are we?
I think we are, because the Tuckfards are taking on the Dream Team this week. Tuckfards obviously the only team without a win this week. However, they could tie for the bottom of their division with a win this week against the Dream Team, who are 1-2. They are looking to keep up with the 2-2-1 teams in the league, in the division. Sorry. Lineup changes in this one. So on Tuckford, straight from the waiver, Cameron Artis-Payne comes in to start over TJ Yeldon.
Wow.
Receivers Devontae Parker comes in to start over Brandon Marshall. Rob Gronkowski Rob Gronkowski graces the lineup for the first time this season.
He's got to be in
Dwayne
there.
Allen. Alan Hearns does remain, however, probably because he's joining us to go and watch the Jags.
Yep.
Meanwhile, on the Dream Team side of the ball, Philip Dorsett comes in as wide receiver 2 for the injured Des Bryant.
Fair enough.
Charles Sims comes into the flex for Jordan Matthews, who is on a bye. Projections in this one currently have it, and remember, both teams have starting players for these projections.
Yeah.
92 to 55 in favour of the Dream Team.
Honestly, the Tuckfar's team, bar Ben Roethlisberger and Gronk, is one of the worst I've ever seen. I can't even begin to tell you.
Yeah.
It's got holes everywhere. And we're looking at Terrence West. We're looking at Cameron Artis-Payne. We're looking at Alan Hearns maybe a little bit. We're looking at a questionable, at best, Devontae Parker.
He's had some good games, but, you know...
Yeah, his health hasn't really been there. And then
Crabtree, who's been okay, is kind of a flex option.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's the wide receiver 1 right now on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just going to hope that Big Ben comes against the Kansas City D and destroys them, but again, I'm not really seeing that.
After, you know, how we saw them play against the Jets last week and how the Steelers played against the Eagles.
Yeah, that's it, absolutely. I'm not seeing it. So sorry, Phil. I've tried to be scathing, but it doesn't look good for you, mate. That's it. Dream Team, on the other hand, obviously Breeze has been going off all year, playing San Diego at San Diego. It's not a terrible matchup for him. You're going to hope that Anderson and Murray bounce back a little bit, especially Anderson. Julio at Carolina, I don't like that, especially the form that he's in.
Yeah.
Well, not playing Carolina, and he's playing at home, but
and Julio's been banged up, obviously, as well.
Absolutely. Philip Dorsett, I like that coming in. He's
Moncrief's out, so he's the wide receiver 2 at the moment.
Genuine wide receiver 2, which is not a bad place to be, considering that Marshall is he's going to be, well, banged up at best. I don't know, Marshall, what am I talking about? Cut that. Brian is banged up.
I'm not cutting it.
That's
it.
Saying. I had Brandon in my head and I said Marshall. I was actually meant to say Brian. Anyway, Brian. Greg Olsen, you're hoping for a bounce back week against the Atlanta D. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Charles Sims, tough matchup for him. 15 points maybe flatters him. Playing against the Denver D, but he does have a multitude of
we've seen
skills.
The post catching backs be able to do stuff against these lockdown defenses before.
Absolutely. So yeah, the Dream Team are going to run away with this. Sorry, Phil, I don't want unless the Tuckfards pull out a Tuckfardish performance, which only they could do.
Happen. They are still the joint winningest coach in the league with Ben Estes and Tom Stanislaus, so
I think that's about to change. I hate to tell. Sorry, mate. I don't like to be this mean, Phil, but it does.
To be fair, I think every team in the league has experienced proper down years.
Yes.
Except for the Tuckfards. They had the kind of year where they struggled last year, but they still came out of that 6 and 8.
Yeah.
This is the first time I think we've really seen a bad Dream Team. Tuckfards.
Yeah, I think the keeper system worked for the Tuckfards when it was in place.
Yeah.
And allowed them to build quite a good team in that period of time. But since refreshed drafting's been back,
and moving to a 12-team league.
Yes, and
we just haven't seen the same.
No, absolutely not. And you posed a question earlier on. Can the Tuckfards survive in a 12-team league? I'm judging by the last one and a
season and a bit.
Yes, absolutely. The answer at the moment is no. But if Gronk and
we've got a discount for the first 3 games this season. He has not had his first overall draft pick. Yes, he's been unlucky with injuries through his own fault. When you're drafting those players, Thomas Rosner and Foster, it's to be expected.
Yeah.
And they didn't have the options to withstand that, especially with the Gronk injury as well.
Yeah.
But we could see a bounce back from the Tuckfards. I think it's within the realm of possibility.
It certainly is a possibility. I think he's going to have to get a little bit creative. I think he might have to, get on the trading block.
Yeah.
Get on the waivers, just see if there's any value in these players. But at this stage of the season, unfortunately, you're seeing the trends already, and the guys who see a little bit of value in, they're already gone.
Yeah. Yeah, especially with not only does everyone pay attention in our league, 12 teams, even more players off the board.
Absolutely.
And yeah, with that, I completely agree. While I could see a Tuckful 3 round at some point, it's not happening this week. It's just not happening this week.
No.
The Dream Team will win this game.
Yeah.
And that's the safest bet. If you have an LOC suicide pool, you'll want to take the Dream Team.
Absolutely. That actually shoehorns quite well into that. And
Yeah, because I should include that in the league news. We're going to be doing a suicide pool, in case you haven't heard. So get your picks into my dad, Dave Stubbs. Actually, I don't know how we're doing it. Contact my dad to ask how we're doing it, because I'm not handling it, as I'm far too busy with other actual league stuff to handle.
He is the official gambling sponsor of the episode.
And we don't condone it.
No, well, only in certain states, provided you're over 18.
Exactly.
Or 16,
if
you can play the lottery.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm losing my voice, so I'm gonna let you take us out. And this time, I don't just want your fish and chips order, so take it away.
No, absolutely, we don't want that. That's it. Although it was good, it was haddock and chips, and it was great. So yes, that's it.
No comment.
No. That's it. This week, as we've seen, really should be a good week in the LFC, and I think, especially as it is a Wembley week.
It is.
It's a Wembley week. We're going to see some good games, especially at home. So until next week, from here to London to New York to Los Angeles, San Francisco and beyond. That's it.
Is that an Alicia Keys song?
That's it. It should be. If not, it's mine. That's it.
And with that,
that's it. Good night. Good afternoon. Or good morning, depending on where you are in the world.
quiet. We're done.